Hey guys, welcome back to the Passive Money Podcast. I'm Alex and this is Kirby. If you haven't seen us before, we talk on everything regarding finance, investments, business, everything to do with money. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about um, just interest rates really and monthly payments on what you would be paying today on a mortgage, whether you're looking to invest in a property or you're looking to buy a home. uh, the difference that you would pay today compared to, say, last year or 2 years ago. We're going to be showing a couple screenshots here on like comparisons, but before we get to that, I'd like to talk to you, Kirby, on this because I know you have more experience in the rental space or real estate space. Um, I know you haven't financed any properties yet. Is that correct? All of yours are owned
Yeah,
outright. But
well, I've financed properties before. It's not my first rodeo.
okay,
Yeah,
well, I mean, because
I
I know you
fin-
just buy it out. But I mean, what
yeah.
do you before? I mean, because I want to show them, I want to show the audience different screenshots and stuff so that they can see. Because I still hear people talking about, oh yeah, that's still not a bad price. If you see a house in Florida for like 250, but people aren't looking at that interest rate change, and that interest rate difference from 2% to 7% makes a huge difference. So are you seeing anything on this so far on your end of things?
Well, first off, before we go down that rabbit hole, the interest rate is a key matrix, and yeah, I financed houses before. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, but yes, I do own a lot of properties outright. But the interest rate, and I know most people can't do that, and we can get into another video of how I was able to do that, over a period of time. But the thing is you have to, the interest rate is key because most people will use the interest rate with mortgage, and interest rates are something that can affect your buying power as a investor or even as a owner op that's going to live in the house. And understanding the interest rates and what they're derived from and things like that is key to understanding where you fit at in the economic ladder when it comes to buying houses and how much house you can afford and how much you can't afford and when is the right time to buy.
Yeah, I mean, like today, I mean, we're seeing properties. I mean, like we were discussing this a couple of days ago, where even if you have a high credit score, you're still paying 6.5%. And now the Fed is talking about being more aggressive with the recent reports on inflation rising even higher. And it's amazing. I mean, I know interest rates were, this high back in the 80s, but I wasn't around to see that. But to see properties that would be around the same price as, I would say, the old Florida, where you could get a house for the 200 range, and the monthly payment would be, say, something around 1,300 a month. Um, to see that almost double is pretty hefty. And I know for like for investing in real estate, not just buying a home, but investing in real estate, like that interest rate starts to really cut into your ROI, even if it is a lower value property. Um, and that's just something I'm noticing getting into this.
And, and I understand the inflation rate. The inflation rate is the highest it's been since the 80s, not the interest rate. I mean, you can go back to 2006, 2007 and have a mortgage rate of 6%. That's the mortgage rate is nowhere near as high as it was back in the 70s and 80s. In the 70s and 80s, the mortgage interest rate was 12 to 15%.
Right.
But this, yeah,
That's what I'm talking about though. Yeah. Those
yeah,
high
yeah,
ones. Yeah.
yeah. So the inflation rate right now is the highest since the 80s, but the mortgage rate is not. And there's a couple of dynamics behind why it's not at that level yet. Could we get there? It's possible. With the Fed in increasing the short-term interest borrowing, which is in the short term of the yield curve, and if more fear gets in the market and more people start to sell bonds and things like that, thinking that the US economy is going to a recession, or going to a recession or things like that, then the longer end of the curve, the 10-year, the 30-year treasury will start to increase more, which will increase the mortgage rates. And that's what the Fed is trying to do. The housing market is super hot, the rental market is super hot, and the Fed is trying to curb that. They're trying to make it more expensive to borrow money. And the banks just came out with earnings today. And as you see, the revenue side of it is the banks are still bringing in more revenue, but their profits are still growing because no matter what the interest rates are, people are still going to borrow money. But this channel, the purpose of this channel was and there's nothing wrong with borrowing money. This is not one of those, hey, you got to be 100% debt free. This is be 100% debt free from consumer debt. But if you're going to get into debt, use it to make more money. That's what this channel is about. But just understanding where the interest rate works for you and then it works against you is very key. So me, even though I haven't, been an adult that long, I've seen 6% interest rates before. This is not nothing new. It just seems big for people and I was buying a house back then when it was 6% interest rate. It's it just seems like a lot when you go from 2.5% up to this 5.5, 6% interest rate now, especially for people that's trying to own or occupy houses. It's a big dynamic for them. So, and can houses still be bought in this market? Yes, houses can still be bought in this market. But the difference is from between now and then, the past few years is those $300,000 houses when it was 2% interest rates, 3% interest rates, and let's say your monthly mortgage payment was, let's say, $900 to $1,100 a month. Now with 6% interest rate, your payment is going to be around $1,400 to $1,500. I know you have the math on it. I'm just taking a guesstimate shot in the air right now, and that's blowing a lot of people's budgets. And that's just understanding. So the people who were scared to buy because of the bidding wars and the low interest rate environment, because houses are going over 200, I mean $20,000 to $30,000 over ask. Now you just have to reset your sights. You can't afford that monthly payment for a $300,000 house. Now you have to start looking in the $200,000 range, and that's just how the interest rate is affecting the market and affecting people as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put it up real quick up here somewhere, but I just want to show a comparison of maybe, say a property, say in 2021, 2020, on a 2% interest rate, 30-year mortgage, $250,000. And then on the left here, we'll do a $150,000 loan with 7% interest, just to show the viewers the difference in monthly payment. But yeah, I mean, so I know you're working with me, you're guiding me through starting to get my foot in the door in the rental or real estate space with investing. What words would you have for uh, high interest rates to new investors? I know, like you're telling me, the all that matters is your ROI, and not to be afraid of the interest rate. If the ROI is still there, then that's all that matters. So is there anything more that you would give on that as far as investing?
Yeah, it's a lot of information I give, but I'll just give about 2 or 3 points, and then we can pivot from there. Um, Currently, right now, I'm doing deals, and I'm financing the deals. I'm not paying cash. Well, one of them I'm paying cash, the other one financing the deal. Um, the key for me, and it will always be the key. I will not buy a property unless it's cash flow positive day one of the deal. I'm not buying a property where the mortgage is $1,200 a month and the property is only bringing in $600 in rent. I'm not negative cash flowing. I'm not breaking even. I have to be cash flow positive day one. Now, I'm not, it probably won't be where I expect it to be, but I'm not doing a deal like a deal I'm working on now. It's the mortgage payment to be around 12, 13, excuse me, 12 or 13 a month, but then the property's bringing in $2,200 a month in rent. So That's what I mean by cash flow positive. I'm not paying for people to live in a house that I'm renting out. That's not an investment. That's just another liability. So for people that's just starting out looking in the rental market, and it's hard to find. I'm not going to say that, oh, deals are showing up right, left and right like that. It's putting in the work, doing the deals. But cash flow positive is a key thing. No matter, and it's dependent on the interest rate. Use a mortgage calculator and put in the interest rates. Don't be putting pie in the sky interest rate, 3%. Don't listen or look at those descriptions on listings and they say, oh, this is a cap rate. Do the math yourself. Because I'm guaranteeing you, most of those people that's putting ROI rates and stuff in their description of the property, of a rental property, they're basing it off a 3% interest rate. They're not basing it off the actual interest rate you'll have to pay. But if you get pre-approvals and stuff like that, they're going to give you a ballpark figure where the interest rate is. Of course, you don't know the exact interest rate until you're locked in, but it'll be, maybe a basis point off, or, that's about it. It won't be a huge gap from the time that you ask them what the interest rates are if you plan on closing in the next 30 days, unless you're doing it at a crazy time in the market. But the property has to cash flow the first day, no matter what the interest rate is. I don't care how good the property is. I don't care how great the location is. If it's not cash flow positive, then I stay away from it. And people should stay away from it also. And with that is doing the work. I mean, like I tell you all the time, is right now in Florida, it's hard to find a cash flow positive property. It's damn near impossible to find one.
Yeah.
And so, about the road trips I took, and we have videos on that, looking for properties. I mean, sometimes you got to do the homework and you got to go out of your, your normal comfort zone, out of your neighborhood. You might have to go, hour to 3 hours away to find that deal. Hell, you might even have to do like me and go to other states to find that deal. But that's the only thing I'm looking for, is that deal. I mean, I know a lot of people on the internet talking about, oh, you only buy in your neighborhood. But what if your neighborhood's like Tampa, Florida right now, where every property that's up for sale is cash flow negative? Even if you talk them down $10,000 or $20,000, it's still cash flow negative. Do you still stay in your neighborhood and do bad deals? Or do you do the bad deal and try to raise the rent up more substantial than it already is in Tampa and hoping you can get somebody to pay for it? If you're cash flow positive day one, you can work on improving everything else. You can go and do upgrades to the property. You can raise rents gradually over time, and you're still in a positive position. But you can't, it's hard to be in a cash flow negative situation. You're doing upgrades and still having to pay for this tenant to be there. And then only thing that's going to get you cash flow positive is substantially raise the rent. And then possibly the tenant will move out, so that's more money you're going to have to pay on top of the rent that you'll be missing out on. Then the cost to turn the property, then to advertise the property, then to get a tenant in there. That's just going to put you more and more in the hole. And then by the time you probably find a tenant that'll pay the crazy rates it is, we might be in a recession, and then now you're worried about the tenant's going to make a monthly payment. So buy positive cash flow properties day one. Don't let nobody convince you it's something different. Don't let real estate agents convince you. Only follow the numbers and do it. That'll be my number one advice to somebody. No matter what the interest rates are, 6% is not a big deal. Actually, buying a rental property, now I'm about to tell you the dynamic between then and now. So back in 2020, 2021, people was buying $300,000 houses at a 2% interest rate. Now, if they come up on hard times, and they need to refi the property, they're refining the property at a higher interest rate. At a higher interest rate, the property value probably not the same as when they bought it. So let's just say it's the same. They refi and take money out, but now they have a higher monthly payment. So instead of that $900 to $1,200 they was paying, now they're paying $1,500 to $1,600. So now if you buying a property today at the 6 to 7% interest rate, in a couple of years, the interest rate could be lower. Then you can refi and get a lower interest rate and bring more cash flow into your system. So just because the interest rates are higher, don't be scared of the market. So that's the dynamic. But all those people that bought those houses with the 2%, 3%, even 4% interest rate, if you want to see those rates for a long, long, long time, they're stuck there, especially people using the burst strategy and the refinance and things like that. They're stuck there with that property. It's either they're going to sell it or that's it. Do you understand the dynamic of what I mean by they're stuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing that they have to worry about. So my 2 points of advice is cash flow positive day one of the deal, and don't be afraid of interest rates. The mortgage interest rates at 6%. Hell, people got credit cards they paying 19% interest rate. They got car payments they're paying 16% interest rate, and these are liabilities. So an investment at 6% is still way better than the other debt that people take on. So that's how I view it.
Right. And that's very important. I can see how that would tie in with fear of missing out with a lot of people, or getting into that are a lot of people that are new to that space of buying a home or buying their first rental property. That fear of missing out, where they want to buy a bad deal because they want to get their first property, they don't want it to run off on them or whatever, and then they're locked into that deal and it's cash flow negative and now it's a liability on their end. Or someone buying their first home and they're buying at the height of the market with a high interest rate and they're just locked into this huge liability, rather than doing the due diligence to find a cash flowing property. Or for those that are viewing that aren't interested in investing in real estate but want to get a house, find a home that is not absurd in that realm of finance. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and it comes down to the people. Let's go owner occupied. We're not even talking about investors. Owner occupied. These people that feel pressure that they got to buy a house with the 3 number in front, 4 number in front, 5 number in front, and they can't afford it, but they feel they have to buy that realm of house. It's because of the peer pressure they see on social media and their friends. Like when you bought your house, you didn't get the okay from friends to say, "Hey, should I buy this house? It has a 2 handle or 3 handle in front of it." Me, I bought my house. I didn't care what I paid for it. Only thing I cared about was having shelter, pretty much safe neighborhood, and that's it. But everybody lives in this. I have to be accepted by other people to make it feel like I'm doing something. You have to stay within your means no matter what, no matter if it's a 6% interest rate or 3% interest rate. And that's the thing that's killing a lot of buyers. Like I'm still seeing in Florida, we still seeing bidding wars and stuff for properties. But why? I mean, I got friends that's talking about they spending $30,000 and $40,000 over asking price. Why? Why? It makes no sense because they feel that their status or their status in life or their job titles and things like that, they have to have a house that said 400,000, 500,000.
Mhm.
Just because that's their, it don't matter if they don't have any kids, they need a 4 or 5 bedroom house just to, you know, meet the acceptance of everybody else around them. And I think that's what's hurting a lot of people when it comes to buying in this market also.
Yeah, I'm seeing people looking to buy a home, and they're turned off by some of the houses that have the older style, where the earthy colors, the granite. Everyone now wants like white granite, marble, and everything white, gray, all that stuff. So like some of these older houses that still have nice features and they're at better prices than the newer, brand new modern homes, and they don't want these houses because of those features. But like they're still putting preferences, like you're saying, on houses in a market like this. Like that could be an opportunity to get a fair value home in a market like this, but everyone still is willing to pay a $400,000 or $500,000 house at a 6-7% interest rate just to have that title of, oh, I have a modern home and I paid this much for it.
What's wrong with buying what you say, close to fair market value home, and with the money you're saving from not spending on exorbitant overpriced houses, and remodeling and making it a modern home. It'll still save. It'll still be cheaper in the long run. That's what I did with my house. When I bought my house, it was Formica, plain Jane, everything, builder specs all the way through. Um, and over time throughout the years, I put maybe 60, maybe $60,000 into it, maybe. And the house is still worth double, almost triple what I paid for it, including the upgrades that I put in. So it still get done.
Right.
And the truth is the people that they're trying to impress may come to their house once, twice a year. So you spending 100, $200,000 out of your comfort zone just to impress people one or two times a year. It never made sense to me. So
Exactly.
I mean, I was young and dumb at a time. Me and my wife, we bought a 300 square foot house, and it was just me and her.
3,000. You said 300 square foot.
It was 3,000 square foot house, and it was
Yeah.
just me and her. I mean, the house was so big, and it was like two levels. Like we needed intercoms to talk to each other if we was on opposite sides of the house. It was stupid. It was just me and her. And then now our house is half that size, well, a little above half that size, and then now it's three of us, and everything still gets done. I mean, you probably can hear my son in the background there playing one of those one of those computer games with his friends, but it's still functional. It gets us to do what we need to do. And we're not here trying to keep up with the Joneses or any of that stuff. And the house is very affordable. We're not sitting here stressing out about it. Any repairs that come up is just a repair. And I'm not sitting here worried about, oh, this mortgage payment is going to be so high. We don't know what we're going to do. That just put more money in my pocket to deploy other places to make more money off of. So that's my view on the housing market and what people should and shouldn't look at right now in this market.
Yep. That is all I got. I just want to make a quick video for our viewers on that. I know it's a topic that I'm hearing brought up in everyday discussion, with this being in the news and everything. So, do you have anything else or?
When things are in the news, it's there for one reason. It's to create clickbait and to create fear. If you have the opposite emotion of what the media is intended for you to have, you will succeed in this market. Now, especially when June 20th, I mean, not June, excuse me, wrong month, July 20th come around. This video should be coming out right around that time. But when July 20th come around, you're going to see uh, more fear is going to be driven in the market. And you're going to see once that news come out on July 20th from the National Realtor Association about home buyers and things that's going on in the housing market, you're going to see more buyers get scared. You're going to see more buyers coming out the market. You're going to see more sellers putting their property on the market, trying to get that last ditch effort to make the money on there. As you see on Zillow and all these other sites. You remember a year ago, we was looking on there, house was only on the market for a day and it was selling. Now you start to see inventory build up, inventory build up. So the fear has already started. Every month when they bringing out those inflation numbers, it's guiding people to more fear. For me, I love it. I love fear because I follow the mantra of Warren Buffett: be greedy when everybody else is fearful. Now this would be my second deal in a month, and again, cash flow positive day one. Uh, I got everything I wanted in the deal. I didn't care about interest rates, and it's paying me money. It's paying positive cash flow in my pocket every day from day one. And that's the deal. And the buyers right now are at more of an advantage because the sellers are looking to sell and try to, sell their property. Some people need to sell, some people want to sell. And as a buyer, you should be asking for concessions. You should be wanting the sellers paying for closing. You should be wanting to ask for less price. You should be doing inspections to make sure everything is good. And if everything's not good, getting that price off the house or getting seller credits to do the repairs. This is a time for the seller to succeed. Now everybody's seen when it was a seller's market when interest rates were down at 2% and everybody can afford. If everybody can afford it, then everybody's going to drive the price up. This is the time now to get in, find a good deal, and then a couple of years down the road, interest rate drop. You could lower that rate. But if you get locked in on 30-year debt today at 6%, let's say you're paying $1,200 a month, it might go up a little bit with interest and taxes and escrow. But later on, you can refi to get that payment lower. So you're not going through the battles of bidding wars and things like that, like you're doing in 2021, and you have opportunity to lower your payment. With everybody that bought in 2020 and 2021, if a recession does hit, they have no opportunity to lower their payments because the interest rates will be way higher. They can't refi to get a lower rate. They only can refi to get a higher rate. So if they become crunch, those people that bought at the 2 and 3% rate and they can't, and housing or jobs start getting slim to none, they're going to be on the one selling at a depressed state where the buyers, like me, investors, will be getting good deals off those houses also. So that's the dynamic, and that's why interest rates shouldn't bother the people that's still looking now. But the media will put fear in there, so you can be fearful, and then you're gonna be everybody's gonna be fearful, and then investors like myself and big time hedge funds are gonna go in there and suck up all the properties, and then everybody's gonna be looking around like, what happened? Why is rent so high? The rent's gonna be so high because everybody then brought up the inventory, and the only option people that wanted to buy a house have is to rent, and they have no choice but have a place to live, so they got to pay the rent to make it happen.
Those are all great points, especially what you were talking about with paying a higher mortgage, like taking on a bigger loan with a smaller interest rate, and then by the time if you get into a financial point where you have to have that monthly payment lower, and now you refinance in a market where interest rates are much higher than what you obtained, unless you got a great deal on the price that you paid for your home with the low interest rate. Paying that high price is definitely definitely going to be an issue in the long run, in
And
refinancing.
most lenders and bankers, they won't refi the property because the value of the house that you paid at that 2%, 3% interest rate is not the value of the same house when the interest rate's at 6 and 7%. So they're really locked into that position, and hopefully, those people don't get in a financial situation where they have to sell. But that's the only thing they can do. They have no alternative. Uh, but in the inverse, like for me with this property, it's at about 6% interest rate. So let's say 2 years from now, I can get a 4.5. If let's say it gets down to 4.5, I don't think it'll get down there no time soon. But I'm cash flow positive anyway, so I'm good with that. But let's say it gets down to a 4.5, I can refinance and get it down to a 4.5, and the payment's just lower for me. But let's say it gets back to 4.5, but people that got 2.5 and 3%, they still refi into a higher payment. And in 2 or 3 years from when they bought it, they really haven't knocked off any of the equity of the house, so they still owe the full kit and caboodle from what they bought in the first time. Especially most people did on the first time home buy, they probably put 3% down or something like that. So they really don't have any equity in a home at all.
Right.
So that's gonna be
That shows a huge difference between owner occupied, buying a home for yourself to live in. It's a liability at that point compared to if you buy a home as an investment, regardless of the interest rate. You're still cash flow positive, hopefully, if you make the right deal, and that monthly payment is being paid for plus cash flow. The home that you live in, paying a high price and getting stuck into a situation like that, you really are limited as to how much you can do. Like you said, selling the home is going to be your only option.
Yeah, and I mean, again, depending on the value of the home, it could be short sales. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of things that can fall into that dynamic and put people in financial hurt, and especially, and 90% of the people in America, they're only dependent on their job. If a recession hits, I don't believe we're going back to the 2008 financial crisis, no matter what everybody on the internet is saying. But if somebody lose their job and they can't, and then the job market dries up, then and then the value of the homes drop, what are they going to do? They're just stuck in the dynamic that they're in, and Short sales could be a possibility depending on how much value is, because the buyer can get 125% loan on the value of the house. So hopefully the values haven't dropped that far, of course. But that gives you, it gives you little leeway to do stuff for people that bought in 2020, 2021. Then the people that is buying in this market at 6% interest rate, they can always refi down. But those people that bought when it was 2 and 3% interest, there's no room for them to go on the downside, because I don't believe we'll see those interest rates unless it's to World War III, COVID times 20 or something like that happen to get interest rates back that low. So unless people waiting for that to happen, then they're stuck at that rate. And if they refi, it's going to put them in a worse monthly financial position than they are. Unless, of course, if they get a higher paying job and stuff, that'll work out for them. But that will be few and far between in this environment that we're heading into.
All right, guys, with all that, if you have any questions or what we talked about today, leave a comment down below. It helps the algorithm. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share our content with your family, with your friends, with strangers, with everybody. So thank you. Thank you guys again for watching. Kirby, do you have any last words you want to say?
No, if you knew better, you'll do better. That's it.
All right, guys, we'll see you.